and screw every one of those 202 members if they want to act like, well, I'm not really opposed to it. I'm just afraid. You're in Congress, for Christ's sakes. Stand for something. All right, so as promised, I want to go over with you what exactly the request that the Freedom Caucus is making from the House of Representatives before they will allow this freaking rhino to become the Speaker of the House. Once again, God bless them. Before I get into it, make sure you subscribe, smash the buttons, all the buttons. You know what they are. Click the bells and all that stuff. Rumble is the new move, though, folks. So if you're catching us over on YouTube, make sure that you head over to Rumble. Just give us a click. They suspended us again. More trumped up, ridiculous charges. Don't make any sense. They won't explain them. They don't get into any kind of discourse. So we have no idea, as a result, whether we would ever violate them again, because they don't tell you what the hell you did. So they tell you what policy you violated, but they don't tell you what you did. So just check us out on Rumble. That's the fail-safe. And now let's get into it. All right, so they sent a list of what they wanted to see before they were going to allow anyone, not just McCarthy, to become Speaker. But McCarthy, well, he feels he's the heir apparent, right? This is the way the game has always been played, and it's not supposed to be played this way, but this is how they've always played it. So McCarthy just thought he was going to be in. But they said, contraire, mon frère. And they gave these terms. Now, the Freedom Caucus has been trying like hell to actually do good things in Congress, but they've been fighting the machine. Like we always tell you, you elect somebody, they get in, they get eaten alive. This is what happens. They gave a list of terms, and you would think these terms would be crazy, considering all the commotion that's going on. You would think that they were asking for some really nutty stuff, considering, I mean, shoot, Sean Hannity apparently isn't supporting this stuff. And how anyone gets elected to a Republican office and doesn't have a problem with this stuff, I think this gives you great insight. For those of you around the country who have elected your officials, you just assumed that they thought like you do. You assumed when you heard people like Hannity tell you on television, this is what the American people want, or this is what this guy's all about, and you hear the fake promises, and Hannity believes those promises and regurgitates them, and then gets mad at people who don't trust them. Well, you know what? Let's see what these terms are. So here's number one. Trust and accountability. We must return to Thomas Jefferson's rule guaranteeing the right to protect the ability to represent his or her constituents by forcing a vote on the speakership. The motion to vacate the chair, I'll explain that in a moment. While difficult in practice, it is an important mechanism to restore trust and provide accountability, placed for a reason from 1801 to 2018. All right, so it's been around for a very long time. In addition, Republicans must replace what Nancy Pelosi struck from the rules of the 115th Congress. So what they mean by motion to vacate the chair, all right, motion to vacate the chair, and apparently they stopped this in 2018. I didn't even realize that. But it's basically anyone can call for a bill to be put to a vote right there on the spot. Because what happens, and what Nancy Pelosi tended to do, was she doesn't want to bring things to a vote. So if she doesn't like a bill, she won't bring it to a vote. They play the same game in the Senate. Like if a bill is written, there's no reason for it to not be taken to a vote. It takes like 10 minutes. You call, all those in favor say yay, all those, against say nay, and you're in, right? But no, they don't do it. And what the caucus is saying, that's nonsense. Because what happens is it's people like the people in the caucus. It's people that get elected for specific reasons, and they can't go in and represent their constituents because House speakers will never let any legislation they write be put to bear and be put to a vote. And this is why the system is structurally broken. And people like Kennedy think that's okay. Like this is a no-brainer. If this guy McCarthy, who, Nancy Pelosi is so upset at Republicans for not bringing in, and Maxine Waters is so upset with Republicans for not bringing in, if this guy McCarthy was going to be that great a speaker, how could he be against that? Let's look at number 2. Bills that are focused, amendable, and readable. So for too long, under both parties, we have simply failed to do our most basic job to legislate in a responsible manner on behalf of our constituents. We must take steps to reopen the legislative process in the House for all members to participate. At a minimum, we must pledge 100% commitment to providing and not waiving at least 72 hours for final bill text, a return to single subject bills. I mean, she's like all about convention of states here, but she's just trying to get this done through Congress, or they're just trying to get this done through Congress. But so, I mean, I'm loving all of this. So how, if you're a conservative, if you're a Republican, how are you not on board with this? Because you are the swamp. That's why. Because they like $1.7 trillion omnibus bills with more crap in it than anyone can read. A return to single subject bills, rules requiring germane amendments, and a pledge to restore genuine debate to the floor. The background for this: no amendments have been offered by individual members on the House floor in open debate since May 2016. Okay, so just 7 years since this has there's even been an amendment offered to a bill. Why? Because they're not reading them. The 72-hour rule is waived routinely on long, complex legislation, notably this week on the NDAA, meaning members rarely know what's in the legislation which they are voting. Additionally, absent rules on a single subject and germaneness, it's impossible to have a full debate on subjects without being accused of opposing or supporting extraneous measures. So you see what they're doing? Like, these are basic concepts, right? They're saying we need the speaker. They want to change some of the rules of the House back to where they should be. All right, because they've all been perverted and changed to allow for these omnibus bills and this crazy stuff. Conservatives should be pro this. If you are not, these are fundamentals. These are not like radical conservative ideas. This is how the Congress is supposed to work. But McCarthy is opposed to it. It's unbelievable. 202 members out of 222 are opposed to these things. Third one. No leadership involvement in primaries. Republican leadership and their political proxies must stop their involvement in Republican primaries. We must have a clear policy that message must be sent to leadership-affiliated PACs to avoid undermining the trust of those that will eventually have to lead and inserting themselves into local elections. While organizations like U.S. Chamber of Commerce and Club for Growth have a role to play in primaries, Republican leadership does not. Background for this: in 2022 cycle, far too many competitive candidates lost in November after political action committees associated with Republican leadership, the Congressional Leadership Fund, spent large sums of money in GOP primaries, leaving them battered and in the general election and with empty war chests. So it's just more meddling. They're just saying, get out of the way. So it's just more meddling. They're saying, get out of the way. They're coming in and they're pouring money in on one side or another of a private. Stay out of that business. Let the people just do their thing. Number 4, conservative representation on committees and among chairs. This one is almost like an insult, because what they're saying is you're not conservative. So they're saying we need conservative representation on committees and among chairs. To be effective and actually united, the Republican positions on committees must reflect the ideological makeup of the House Republican Conference and those Americans who elect them. Most importantly, the Rules Committee must have multiple conservative seats. We must ensure unity before we're on the House floor. So the background for this: consider that despite undeniably being a substantive block of the conference, conservatives are dramatically underrepresented on the so-called 8 committees. For example, Appropriation, Energy and Commerce, Ways and Means. For example, just 2 of the 27 Republicans on the Appropriations belong to the House Freedom Caucus. So they're saying they want more caucus members, and what they're really saying here is that we need conservatives, and you guys are not conservatives. And I got to be honest, I agree with them on that point. Although this point might be a little more petty, you can't just demand that you be on a committee. So from that angle, this might be one where you negotiate it out and say, all right, this is one we concede. But we'll see. Number 5, using must-pass legislation to check the Biden administration. We must fight for the American people. The NDAA can be used not only to end vaccine mandates, but also reinstate and protect discharged service members. The Farm Bill must reform food stamp welfare programs and block Chinese government land buying. This, again, a conservative concept. If any of these Republicans are 202, this is what should disturb you, that there's 202 people that you elected as a Republican, as a conservative, and this is not something that's on their page. And again, I don't want to hear any of the 202 say, well, it really is. I don't want to hear it. It either is or it isn't. Speak or don't speak, because these people are speaking. So you've got cover already. Debt ceiling must implement spending caps. Appropriations bills must utilize the power of the purse to actually stop the border insurgency, restore energy freedom, and or block the hiring of more IRS personnel to harass Americans. Again, all basic stuff. All of this stuff is basic stuff. All of it. Do we really want... I mean, the Chinese have been aggressively buying land. The Chinese government is buying land all throughout the United States. Like, literally, they could purchase the country if this doesn't get slowed down. And we're just pretending it's not happening. This is an issue of national defense. You can't let another government just purchase your freaking land. I don't care how much money there is to be made. I don't care. You cannot let your greatest enemy on earth just purchase freaking that much land in your country. This is common sense. But we have 202 Republicans who are not for this. And yeah, Marjorie Greene is one of them. Again, I don't give passes. I know she's been, good on the Freedom Caucus and all that, but half the Freedom Caucus is in on all this too. They're willing to sell all this down the road too. Because if he's not willing to concede this, okay, it means he's not doing it. And frankly, he's not doing it anyway, even if he does concede it. This guy is the swamp. He will promise that he will, and then he won't. That's exactly how that will go down. So there's, to me, how people like Marjorie Taylor don't just get on this, Marjorie Taylor Greene don't get on this, bugs me out. But somebody has convinced her that, if we don't do this, then the House won't be able to operate, and then the nothing that we were going to accomplish in the next 2 years will never get done. That's where we're at, okay? Because if you think that the House was going to do some amazing stuff this year, you're insane. You want to do some amazing stuff? Change these rules. You change these rules. You follow these basic rudimentary, conservative principles. Get these things done, and you will have accomplished more than you ever would have accomplished in any other way. That's for damn sure. And now here's the last one. Form a church commission, a church commission style committee to target weaponized government. Again, create one centralized, empowered investigation and action committee to frame and carry out the fight against weaponized government in coordination with other critical standing committees. So what do they mean by that? They're talking about, instead of having, this committee investigate that, this committee investigate this committee, this one's going to invest the Mueller investigation for the dossiers and this for that. No, one committee goes down the road for anything involving weaponized. We all know the government's been weaponized. You're an idiot at this point if you can't figure out the government's been weaponized. And the fact of the matter is, look, all right, we had a January 6th commission. That's great. Tell us you're going to unleash all of the January 6th files. All of the video footage, not just the select pieces. There's millions of friggin' photos out, millions of images out there and videos, not just the violent ones that you showed. We get to see all of it, right? We get to see all the documents. We get to see all the comments. We get to overhear all the talking. We get all of it. All of it. But McCarthy's not releasing all that. He's not even trying to talk about all that. This guy's a doot-to-doo, okay? He's a doot-to-doo. And we should be ashamed of ourselves that 202 freaking Republicans... This is why Article V matters, folks. When I tell you the government is structurally broken, this is what I mean. All right? Those 202 people that are sitting in that house lining up to eat the dog food from frickin' McCarthy's hand, and Marjorie Taylor Greene is one of them. Sorry, it is what it is. I got to call it like I see it. They're all lining up to eat the dog food from this man's hand, and the fact of the matter is, you didn't vote them in for that. You did not vote for them for that, to do that. But there they are. How does that work? It works because the government is structurally broken. So until we fix that, elections are meaningless. No matter, even worse than fixing the elections. All right? At least you could try and catch somebody if they were fixing an election. This is worse than that. There's no one to catch. Everything goes just as planned, and you still get screwed. You follow me? Article 5 is the only path where these people aren't involved. They're just not involved. There is no congressional involvement. We put these things in, all through amendment, okay? I would love to see everything get ratified. They probably won't, but I'll take whatever I can get. If I can get term limits and I can get a balanced budget amendment, there we go. I'll take that. Do I want to overturn the 16th Amendment? Absolutely, but I'll take the first two. I'll take whatever we can get through on those topics. And if you're not aware of the topics, it's term limits, balanced budget, and government overreach, which is pretty much what Freedom Caucus is going after. It's just they're never going to succeed. We will. And not only that, when we do succeed, it's as good as permanent, because whoever wants to change it is going to have to go through the same 10 years, everything we've been through to get to the point that we're at now. It's the path. It's the path. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I just, it was something that was bothering me. It wasn't easy to find. It's a little easier now. Initially, it wasn't easy for me to find. And that was the first question I asked, was like, well, what's the formal list of demands? And I just kept hearing different stuff from different people. So there you have it. That's the actual list. That's what they were asking for. They sent that letter out in December. All right. So you got it now. Hope you just caught my previous video where I kind of went off on Hannity and Fox News for the garbage organization that is, and the embarrassment that Hannity is with his dubious "I'm so conservative" nonsense for years. For years, I have known that he was nothing but a rhino, and every once in a while they just come out and spew it. And Tucker is the only one on that channel that's worth watching. That's it. He's the only one on that entire channel that's worth watching. There, I said it. All right, folks. Until next time, join us on Wednesday Night Live. We're live every Wednesday night, 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. 5:30 p.m. every Wednesday, YouTube, Rumble, and Facebook, and Twitch, actually, as well. So join us. We highlight all the comments. Any questions about Article 5 Convention of States, we answer them live on screen. I will stop any conversation that's going on if an Article 5 question comes up. All right? Until next time, folks, I'm out.
And like that,